Crisscross. Everybody clap your hands. How low can you go? You did the exact amount. Did you mean to?
No, but that tracks for me.
Oh my God, I have so much rhythm. I'm a drummer. Today's episode is brought to you by Earnin. I don't know about you guys, but we all know those moments where the money just isn't moving fast enough.
It never is.
We're waiting for that payday. Them dollar bills.
Every week. Every 2 weeks.
Well, Earnin provides the financial momentum you need to keep moving forward.
If you guys don't know, Earnin is an app that gives you access to your pay as you work, up to $100 per day or up to $750 per pay period. All you have to do is download the Earnin app and verify your paycheck, then access up to $100 a day as you work, and you can leave in an optional tip. Any money you access plus tips are automatically repaid from your next paycheck. And I think Earnin is so incredible because you never know what life has in store for you. Sometimes there's an upcoming rent that, you didn't plan for. Sometimes there's a last minute trip to the vet that tends to happen to Taryne and I.
Always.
Just wipes out your account. And you never know if you want to end up having a little special night or a last minute gift for a loved one that you didn't think through. Earnin has you covered for all of it. So make Earnin a part of your financial routine and join Earnin's over 3.5 million customers who say things like, when I think about Earnin, I think about financial stability and security. It gives me a lot of peace of mind.
Download Earnin today, spelled EARNIN, in the Google Play or Apple App Store. When you download the Earnin app, type in Unsolicited Advice under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help our show. Unsolicited Advice under podcast. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Subject to your available earnings, daily max, pay period max, and location. See earnin.com/TOS for details. Bank products are issued by Evolve Bank and Trust member FDIC. Are you guys a fan of the show? If you are, we have a VIP subscription that you can sign up to get much more of your girls here.
Become a premium subscriber and get access to exclusive episodes, ad-free listening, discounts on merch, and so much more. Plus, it's only $5 a month, which is way cheaper than your everyday latte.
To sign up, just go ahead and go to the show notes and you can click the link.
Also, if you have any stories that you would like us to read on our podcast, this is your moment to shine. Send your emails at, what's the email called, Taryne?
adviceunsolicitedpod@gmail.com. It can be funny. It can be sad. It can be deep. It can be light. It can be your story. It can be a friend's. It can be short. It can be long. All shapes and sizes are welcome. So send it in today.
What's up, everyone?
Hi.
Welcome back to Unsolicited Advice. I'm Ashley.
I'm Taryne.
This is the advice podcast that you guys come to pretty regularly for advice. And we're back again.
Oh my gosh, wait. I have to tell you. With another one. I have to tell you the funniest conversation I had on a dating app, which I know everyone calm down. I will update you. I've had so many DMs that are like, Taryne, did the guy respond? Did the guy respond?
I love that.
What?
We're like, hi, welcome back. And you're like, guys, calm down.
Everybody get off my back.
Relax. Take a step back.
Even like Michaela and Mandy were like, Taryne, we need an update. Okay, so this guy, his prompt I responded to was a dad joke.
Right. That also tracks.
So, yeah. So I thought he was going to be like all funny and great conversation. No.
Oh?
Absolutely not.
Oh?
So he put, what is it called when Batman leaves church early? And I'm like, challenge me, bro. Like, of course I know that one.
Yeah.
Christian Bale. We already knew this. So I just respond, Christian Bale. And then he puts, what is your podcast about? I'm like, first of all, why didn't you acknowledge that I got it right?
Are you not going to stand and applaud me for nailing that one?
Yeah. Also, can you add a question mark? Like, how lazy are we, bro?
Oh.
Okay, I should have known.
I do that all the time.
Well, that's lame. Learn. Okay.
I do that all the time.
What is your podcast about? I put, people write in their life situations and me and my bestie give advice. LOL.
Yeah.
Sounds too deep.
Oh.
I was like,
Can't have even a thought of a serious conversation.
I literally
and doesn't believe in question marks.
I just didn't respond because I was like, okay. I just feel like this is
right.
We're not vibing.
This is not going to go over well.
Yeah.
If you're not going to acknowledge that I got the dad joke right.
Yeah. So welcome back to the extremely deep, serious podcast
that you can't handle.
That is unsolicited advice. We're deep. You're going to add that to our bio.
I'm going to add that in our bio.
Deep.
Speaking of bio, we have all the links down below. So if you want to follow us on socials, go down there. If you want to get bonus content of Taryne and I, where we do like AMA, solo episodes, fun shorties, even scary stories, then check out our Supercast account. We'll have that linked in the... is it bio?
It's
what would you call that?
I think it's description.
Description of the podcast.
Right?
Description of the episode.
Description?
Yeah.
Episode box?
It's like,
description. You know what?
Description box. It's link in bio. It's episode description. There's too many. There's
too much lingo and everything is different.
Yes.
Every app is different. It's funny, Ash, because sometimes in my brain, I play this game where I'm trying to guess what you're going to use as a leeway into saying like the episode spiel.
Oh.
And I didn't see that one coming.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Got to keep you on your toes.
The second you said, speaking of
bio,
then I was like, oh, here it comes. I didn't. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just set her up. And then you'll start talking. I'm like, oh, she's going to say.
Yeah.
But other times, you got me. You got me today. Surprise.
Gold star for me. So, Taryne.
The long awaited.
Why don't you update us?
Drum roll, please.
How's it going over there?
Well, it's funny because I did a Q&A on my Instagram and I updated a little bit because at that point, okay, so last you guys heard on the podcast, we sent a message.
Yes.
Ash helped me craft a message. We sent it. He did not respond for a week. So I fully accepted that I had been like hardcore ghosted. And so
you were
full blown.
Yeah.
So on my social story, someone sent like, hey, whatever happened with that guy from the podcast. And so, and I said, I was like, oh, I got like hardcore ghosted. I said that. So I have an update for everyone. Yesterday, I hung out with Ash all day. We were on the worship team at church together. We got lunch, we hung out, and then we both were like, happy napping.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
home,
I'm so tired. Bye.
Yeah. I get home, I'd like strip down to just my t-shirt and I jump in my bed and I'm like,
in heaven.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I don't even remember. Oh, I was watching, I think because I just caught up on Bridgerton, which we should talk about. Put a pin in that. I've been really into like British shows, movies, whatever. So I was like watching, can't remember what the name of it was. It was some random one on Netflix. And I was on my phone. So I'm like on my phone doing stuff. And all of a sudden his name drops down a text. And I was like, I literally like for a second, I was like, pause because I thought I did some, like your brain doesn't make sense.
Accidentally
I was like, did I text him something? I was freaking out. So then I open it. And what we sent on the podcast was the link, and then I said, "As promised, LOL." Remember?
Yes, to the episode,
which we all discussed and voted on. So he put, "Yeah, you kept your promise more than I can say for myself," and I was like, what the hell? So of course I just screenshot it and I send it straight to Ashley. And then Ashley's like, oh my God.
I was like, he lives? You were dead to me, sir.
Yeah. And so my response was, whoa, didn't think I was going to hear from you again. Like I had already accepted the full ghost. And then he put, no, I couldn't do that, which I was like, but you did.
Okay.
But you did.
Yeah. Too late.
You know what? I don't even want to get into it. Right. But here's a summary. I genuinely do believe he is like a really good guy. And I think what I've learned about myself, and this is not a subtle brag because it's not always been the best for me. I am the girl you marry. I've always have been. Even when I was younger, like I can't tell you how, I'm not joking. Almost every guy that I've like been interested in has told me like that they like respected me too much, or like, you're the girl you marry, and like I'm not looking for anything. So I've always been I'm the girl you marry, and it always ends up being something along those lines, right?
Right.
So bottom line, he said, like, he genuinely apologized, was super sweet about everything, but basically spilled out this whole thing about like, when I met, I wasn't expecting you to be like this sweet, genuine, just like amazing person. And he's like, I just felt guilty because I know like he's going back home. And so he's like, I just felt like guilty about everything. And he's like, obviously I didn't handle it in the best way because I just didn't respond.
Correct.
And I was like, yeah, you could have like clued me in or like involved me in the situation
or
conversation.
Also, like, I think what sets this one different from like other ones is like, you guys met in person. So he was able to see how cool you are. Yeah. So he should have been able to know that like you could handle a conversation like that instead of just ghosting, you know?
Yes.
That's what's weird.
Well, and then it shifted into this big serious, I felt like I was going through this like breakup, and I was like, whoa, like we had already talked in the beginning about how you were leaving, and we just agreed to just like be friends and
keep
to
it
hang
casual.
out and like see what happens and like whatever. I'm like baby stepping my way back into dating anyway. So I felt like he was this like amazing guy, and I felt safe to just have kind of like a casual thing with. And so like we're talking about it, and the whole time I'm just like, why is this so, it was just like so deep, and I appreciated it because I think he genuinely means it. Like I didn't get it makes no sense for him to like fully ghost me and to have gotten away with it. Like a week had gone by, I hadn't responded. Like he was in the clear. It makes no sense for him to reach out and then pour out all this stuff. Like that doesn't make sense for it to be like, oh, just like an excuse to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Which we do appreciate him coming and like tying a neat little bow on it. Like, okay, he came back, he apologized. Yeah. You know, we appreciate that.
Because that is the worst part about ghosting is you don't know. Yeah. Like yours, he's still buried. Buried together. Feet to feet.
I was like, oh, he died. And so did
and they're in wherever they are. Yeah. Just partying together.
Yeah. So I assumed it was done. Because I was like,
same.
I've seen this before.
Same.
Say goodbye, Taryne. You'll never see him again.
Never. He's gone.
He gets points for coming back and not being.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Yes. And I, like I said, I definitely got a vibe. Like it genuinely was something he was struggling with. And I told Ash, I was like, I think at the end of the day, it was like, oh, crap. Like this girl, because, okay, I was telling Ash this detail in the car. It was funny because I was replicating it, and then Ash was like, "Who?"
Okay. All right. You need to explain.
Yeah, let me explain.
You need to explain first, and then I'll backstory.
Okay, so Ash is driving, which he was in the driver's seat, and then I was kind of like leaning on the center console, and I was telling her that it like nothing about it felt like scandalous or like whatever. Like we talked for like over an hour or two. Then we like kissed for a while, and then we talked a while more. But like when we were talking after we kissed, like I was leaning on the thing, and I had like a dress and then a sweater, so like a portion of my shoulder was showing. My shoulder, woo. And so I was showing Ash, like he was kind of just like the whole time we were talking, he was like just kind of like tracing his finger like on my shoulder, and then he would like reach up and like put my hair behind my ear. And like one time I like kissed the side of his hand when he was doing it. So it was very like romantic-y and like intimate feeling.
I was gonna say it's like coupley.
Yeah. And so that is my thought is like, you know, he's asking me about like my job and you know, like what I do for work is very like, a lot of people are like, wow, like that's like amazing work. And so I'm sharing all this stuff about my life and how I feel and just how amazing I am and everything I said. Like he was very much like, dang, like I really respect that. And so I think the problem was he saw too much of a picture of like who I am and was like, dang, she's a good girl. And then so instantly it just was this very comfortable.
You guys went into this flow state so fast. Yeah.
And so I think that at the end of the day, he was like, I'm not staying.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
So I think he was just like, I want to go home, and she's really cool. And the thought of like I could hurt her or me get too attached, like I just don't want to do that.
Right. But like the whole thing is, he said it himself. I'm assuming he said exactly what you just said. You are a cool girl. So like if you met this cool girl who you're like, oh, she's actually really great. I don't think I can do this because I wasn't expecting like this kind of a great human being. Then don't you think this great person deserves to be told that you're about to dip out? Like,
yeah.
And like, don't you think this great person who just agreed to like a casual, let's see what happens thing could handle it if you were like, hey, this is actually too much for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to have to not do this. She'd be like, okay, like I'm a little disappointed, but like she's fine. She's fine. So like, that's all you had to say. It didn't have to be this DTR. It didn't have to be this whole breakup thing. It could have just simply been like, hey, this can't work.
I know.
And like,
again,
you would have been fine.
I'm not trying to like bash him, because I do genuinely feel like he's a good guy, and like he genuinely feels these things. So I'm not trying to like undermine, or I don't know. But yeah, it just was one of those. And then, you know, of course it ends at the end like, but like you are really cool. I've had fun getting to know you. Like, I still want to be like friends.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, sure.
What does that mean?
We'll see if that happens. But I mean, that's all like, I'm the type of girl who I'm like, come over, let's build Legos, play Mario Party, and like hang out. Like, I'm
also,
just
like, this is a dating app first time hang. You're not going to be friends. Like, you're not, you literally have no foundation to have any kind of anything.
Yeah.
So like, why say that? Yeah. Why say that you want something casual and then freak out and then be like, I can't do this, you're too serious, and then, you know, be like, but we could be friends. No, you stop talking.
Ash,
it's contradictory. It's contradictory. So like, I really feel like he spun this whole like thing up in his head and had a panic attack, which like he's giving me a panic attack, just like trying to understand his thought process. So I understand that, but like all he had to say was, hey, you're really cool. Actually a little too cool. Can't go falling for you. I'm moving. So like, unfortunately, we cannot hang out anymore. Yeah. It could have been so easy.
Yeah.
It could have been so easy. But then he had a ghost, and then he had to come back, which again, we're giving you a point for coming back. But like, you got docked 5 when you ghosted, you know? So like.
Yeah. And then I think because I responded so chill, then he was like, wait, but like, should we still be friends?
You're so cool. No, sir.
I am freaking cool.
Yeah.
I know. You should
regret
it.
This is a dating app.
I know.
And it doesn't say I'm here to make friends.
Yeah.
It says I'm here for romance or whatever. What does it say? I'm here to date. I'm here to, you can fill in the category. If you're trying to be casual, you put friends.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be more serious, you put dating.
Yeah. You know, it is.
I would love to meet him one day.
Maybe we will become like super good friends until he leaves.
I don't think
know.
I will allow that.
But Ash, I told you, I am in a season where I am just open for experiences.
Agreed. And I love that.
And I think that it would be different if I was like, I wanted to, like, let's get married. But I think I am in this good place where I'm seeking experiences. I'm seeking, whether that's we're just friends.
She's open.
Or whether that's we never talk again, whether it's whatever it is. And like, he's not the only guy I'm talking to. So it's like,
again, that's what's so weird that he had to like make it so serious.
Because I think I really do. And I got this vibe when I met him. I think he's a genuine, decent human. And I think anyways,
but if that's the case,
he shouldn't have ghosted.
He needs
and he knows.
He realize that he can't do this casual thing.
Yeah, no, I think.
Don't ask for a casual thing when you can't handle a casual thing.
It sounds like he's just met crappy people, that it's easy to be like, oh, let's hang out a couple times and then never talk to you again. So maybe I am a gem, but I warned him. I said, I am freaking lovable. Don't hang out with me or start talking to me unless you want to fall in love with me.
That just made me think of Walk to Remember, where she's like, yes, but you have to promise me one thing. You cannot fall in love with me.
I was
And
very
he's like,
honest.
okay. And then what does he do?
Yep. I was very honest. And
Shane. Isn't his name Shane? Yeah. I feel like we should rewatch that tonight, maybe.
Let's do it. But yeah. Anyways, wow. So take that or leave it for what you will. I'm fine. What?
What did you say? Take that
or leave that for what you will. Yeah. Is that weird?
I don't know, but that's not right. Something about that is sitting weird with me.
Take it or leave it. Is that better if I just stop there?
Yes.
Take it or leave it. I'm fine. I respect him.
Mm-hmm.
I accept his apology.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been handled different. And I'm open to whatever comes either way because I'm in a good place. But yeah, so that happened.
Speaking of a walk to remember, I went to the farmer's market.
Yes.
And guess who was walking through the farmer's market?
Mandy Moore.
No hat, no security guard, no nothing. She's just walking down the middle, and it was like no one saw her. And all I saw was this like beam of light coming down from heaven. And I was like,
oh my
God,
gosh.
I love you. And she looked like absolute perfection just walking around.
Was she by herself?
She's by herself. She was in this like cute little trench coat, and she had her like little short hair. And like I've seen so many celebrities at this farmer's market. They always have like a hat, sunglasses on. They're with people. Like it's very like, don't look at me kind of thing. She was just glowing, and like no one was stopping her. And I was like, this is so cool.
I feel like sometimes that has an opposite effect.
Yeah.
Like when your hat, glasses, head down,
anybody's
going to be
attention.
like, wait, who is that? And they're going to stare longer. Whereas if you're just like a person,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe people don't notice as much unless you're Ash.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
Just because I fell in love with her and walked to remember.
Didn't we all?
Didn't we all?
Today's episode is brought to you by Earnin. I don't know about you guys, but we all know those moments where the money just isn't moving fast enough.
It never is.
We're waiting for that payday. Them dollar bills.
Every week. Every 2 weeks.
Well, Earnin provides the financial momentum you need to keep moving forward.
If you guys don't know, Earnin is an app that gives you access to your pay as you work, up to $100 per day or up to $750 per pay period. All you have to do is download the Earnin app and verify your paycheck, then access up to $100 a day as you work, and you can leave in an optional tip. Any money you access plus tips are automatically repaid from your next paycheck. And I think Earnin is so incredible because you never know what life has in store for you. Sometimes there's an upcoming rent that, you didn't plan for. Sometimes there's a last minute trip to the vet that tends to happen to Taryne and I.
Always.
Just wipes out your account. And you never know if you want to end up having a little special night or a last minute gift for a loved one that you didn't think through. Earnin has you covered for all of it. So make Earnin a part of your financial routine and join Earnin's over 3.5 million customers who say things like, when I think about Earnin, I think about financial stability and security. It gives me a lot of peace of mind.
Download Earnin today, spelled EARNIN, in the Google Play or Apple App Store. When you download the Earnin app, type in Unsolicited Advice under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help our show. Unsolicited Advice under podcast. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Subject to your available earnings, daily max, pay period max, and location. See earnin.com/TOS for details. Bank products are issued by Evolve Bank and Trust member FDIC.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into today's Tearing It Up. This one's a little bit longer, but it's worth it.
Ooh.
Do you want to tell everyone what a Tearing It Up is in case they don't know, Taryne? They know.
Tearing It Up is basically moments in your life that are super embarrassing or super like what just happened to me, that you feel like you can relate, because that is my life story. So that's why it was lovingly named after me. And it also is my MySpace username.
Throwback. What was your MySpace song?
Girl, that song changed like my freaking socks. I changed it all the time depending on my mood. It sent a message. If I knew, like, if there was a song I knew like a guy would like, I would like put that on.
Yeah.
Yeah, my MySpace was constantly fluctuating.
Mine was fluctuating as well. And then when Sugar We're Going Down Swinging by Fall
Oh, she's like, I'm married to this?
It was like, that's it. That's it. To this day, that song hypes me up like so much. Yeah, I would drum to it for days. Okay, this one is titled 5 Days of Unfortunate, or shall I say completely expected events.
Ooh.
I said advents, like a calendar, when I was wrong.
But it's 5 days, so like advent calendar. Could work.
Could work. Hello, lovely ladies. I want to start off by saying how much I enjoy the podcast. You both bring so much joy into my day. Thank you for sharing such deep thoughts and emotions with us listeners. I truly feel connected to both of you despite not knowing either of you. Mm-hmm. Listening to the podcast has helped me learn a lot about myself and those around me. I'm currently listening from the beginning, so I get lots of Taryne and Ashley every single day. Wow, she's starting over.
We love that. If you're watching on the YouTube, or if this makes it on the social assets, I'm fine. I just am sucking on the most disgusting throat lozenge in the world. So if I'm making a stank face, it's because I want to die. But I'm happy. And enjoying it's
just her face.
Sorry, it's just my face.
Don't mind her. All right, on to the Tearin It Up. I am very much so similar to Taryne in the sense that these things just happen to me all too often. It's at a point where I expect it to happen, and when a day or week goes too smoothly, I'm actually concerned.
Me?
Yeah.
When things just like go my way, I'm like, oh crap, something bad's gonna happen.
It's coming. This series of unfortunate, or shall I say completely expected events all started on Friday. I work at Starbucks, and often I get into the groove of things and move a little too fast for my own brain, which leads to stupid mistakes and injuries. I was making a drink and went to scoop some ice cream, and as I was putting my hand into the ice bin, I caught my finger on the lip of the bin, completely sliced it open.
Oh my gosh.
I won't explain the cut because ew, but just know that it wasn't pretty. Moving on, as the night continued, my back starts to hurt. This is honestly quite normal. I don't wear the best footwear for being on my feet all day long, so I can't blame anyone but myself. I didn't think anything of the back pain because it usually goes away by the time I get home, but not this time. As I'm typing this on Thursday, the pain is still there.
Uh-oh.
So let's move on to Saturday. For a bit of backstory, I'm a classical singer and just graduated with a Bachelor of Music and am starting a diploma in opera in the fall. I was performing in the chorus of an operetta.
Sure.
Operetta. Yeah, that feels right. This weekend, all was going well despite being in pain because of my back until about 10 minutes before we're supposed to start. I go to the bathroom to blow my nose before taking my seat, and as I walk into the bathroom, my nose just starts bleeding.
Oh my gosh.
A lot. Like not a little. In parentheses, noting I haven't had a nosebleed since I was like 8 and I'm currently 22. This was completely random. I tried my best to get it to stop with the first aid knowledge I have, but it wouldn't. At this point, I have 5 minutes until we're supposed to start and everyone is already in their places. I tried to call my friend maybe 10 times to get him to tell someone what was happening and not to worry about it and that I would figure it out because, in parentheses, she adds, I hate being a problem and really didn't want people worrying or looking for me. Since he wasn't answering, I started to look for someone. So I'm running up the stairs from the bathroom to one side of the stage and found that no one was there. So I had to run back to the bathroom for more toilet paper because I was starting to bleed through the toilet paper that I had been holding on to. Then back up the other set of stairs to still try to find someone. I finally found the conductor and stage manager who both looked at me wide-eyed. The stage manager then took me to the bathroom where she soaked a wad of toilet paper with cold water and plopped it onto my nose to get the bleeding to stop. Keeping in mind I am wearing a full face of makeup. Well, not anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And the light blue top that I was wearing fully soaked down the front from the dripping water. After a minute or two, the bleeding finally stops. I didn't have time to look in the mirror or really clean myself up at all because at this point we were supposed to start a while ago. I ran back down the stairs and up the other side because there's a tunnel under the stage to get from one side to the other. Keeping in mind my back was not happy about this.
Jeez.
I took my seat, shirt completely soaked, nose red, not from blood, but simply from all my makeup having come off. We start the show, and in the first chorus number, the chorus was staged, and at one point I had to leave and come back with a cloak or cape type thing on. It was too long, and as I walk onto the stage with it, I slip.
Oh my gosh.
It catches under my heel and my front foot went sliding out from underneath me. Thankfully, I was able to catch myself before actually falling, but still so embarrassing. Then Monday comes along. I met up with a friend for lunch and we ended up sitting on the patio. I don't think about this often, but I am very pale and I ended up sitting in the sun for 3 hours and got extremely burned.
No, not 3 hours.
Yep. That's correct. I currently look like a tomato and it hurts really bad. Later that night, my roommate and I were going out and I was driving. Somehow I was backing out of the parking spot and I managed to back my poor car all the way into the wall behind me. The wall behind me. I swear my foot was on the brake, so I'm not entirely sure how this happened. The car, the wall, and the roommate are all okay, so no need to worry. Now we bring ourselves to Tuesday.
This is rough.
I wake up with extreme back pain, worse than it had been for days. And I had booked a doctor's appointment the day prior. And as I was getting into the car to go to said appointment, I literally smack my head on the side of the car roof. This was the moment I gave up. I think I need a week-long nap and maybe some bubble wrap. Also, I'm just sitting in my doctor's office and my doctor looks at me, a bright tomato, and asks if I've been using sunscreen, to which I respond, as we can both see, no. So yeah, that's been the last 5 days of my life. Several injuries and one lovely dent in the back of my car. Taryne, I get it.
Girl.
Just happens to some of us, and it's okay. It makes us tougher and prepares us for the next day when something even more random and crazy happens. I hope you enjoy this more than I did. Love you both and the pod, Gabriella.
Woof.
That's a
rough
tough week.
That's a rough one.
I feel like everyone's had weeks like that, but to like have that happen like
nonstop,
where it's just like injury after injury after injury after injury. It's just like, geez.
You usually get like a little bit of a break in between.
Some kind of break, or it's not all injuries. Like it's something else unfortunate. You know, it's just like,
yeah.
Dang.
I had this morning, not totally the same, but my own, life story. Charlie, the older he gets, like the more like random health things start coming out.
Right.
One of the things he started doing, he'll go in the morning and drink a ton of water. And the doctor told me like when they get older, it's like they don't realize like when to stop. Whereas like younger they do. So he'll drink forever. And then he'll be like walking and just like spew water out because he like drank way too much too fast. And so this morning I heard him drinking and I was like, oh shoot, I should stop him. But I was like too lazy. I was just laying in my bed. So then he crawls up on my bed. He's laying on my chest. And I don't sleep with anything on top. So like, it's just like fair. And he's like laying on like the blankets, like on my chest. And then he's just looking at me and I'm like, hi, Bubba, good morning. Look at him. And then he just goes, bleh, and literally just spews like watery, like goo all over my chest, like all up my neck, like basically from my chin down to like my shoulders. And I was just like laying there like, oh, like what? And then he just quickly like scurries off. He's like, oh shoot. And then I had to like go clean everything up. It was just, but that was like, open my eyes. I'm like, oh, like, hi, Charlie. Buddy. He's just like, bleh. It was rough.
Dang.
It was rough.
That's, man, getting old sucks.
I know.
Poor buddy. How old is he now?
14.
14.
He's doing, I will say, we're a little blind. We're a little deaf.
Right.
We pee when we sleep. We spew water.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, he's doing great. Doing great. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our first episode.
Let's do
or
it.
Story. This is from our 10%.
A male.
A male.
A boy.
A boy. Or a man, sorry.
Sorry.
So sorry. I love this too. I just love the difference of the beginning. Like it just seems so like respectful, like because he's married. So
okay,
you'll see. But this is titled Birthday Trip Advice. Hey, you two and more.
I love that.
Hey, you two and more.
And
Andy,
more.
Michaela, we gotta, hey. I have one.
Oh, perfect.
I love it. He continues, I am so in love with my wife. She reminds me every day what it means to be happy and find the fun in the mundane. We are creative people and support each other's pursuits. We are both whimsical and playful, but I'm more analytical and critical of everything. And then he puts the issue, ... What's that called? An ellipses? No. What's the ... called?
Colon?
Colon. Is it? Which one's the?
What's an ellipses?
Ellipses is the ... comma one.
That's a semicolon.
What the crap is an ellipses?
I've never heard of an ellipses. ...
is ellipses? Oh, okay. Well, punctuation, you know? Okay. The issue. I already forgot what was. Oh my God. My memory. I'm telling you. Anyway,
I was about to tease you for having made up the word ellipses.
No, I didn't. Okay. It's her 40th birthday and she has planned a trip to New York City. Ooh. She loves New York. I do not.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to be there for what she feels to be a milestone, but she just told me it's 9 nights. I don't want to do this. I love men. Like I love like the way they talk, the way they think, like the difference between like men and women. I just like I find this so like refreshing.
The way like it's short, blunt, to the point.
She wants to go. I don't want it.
I don't want to do it. I don't want it.
I also can't really afford it given exchange rate. My stress threshold will probably lend to a fight on her birthday trip. So I presented a couple other options, such as your best friend can take my ticket and I'll book my own for just 3 to 4 days. I feel like those are great options. As I say, I love her, but she's upset, obviously, at my lack of enthusiasm, involvement, and dedication to this. I wish at the onset I'd said, go with your friend and I'll have something for you when you get home. I've said I want to go, understanding I will just grin and bear it. I mean, New York has everything. I'm sure I'll find something fun to do or just say I'll hang out on a bench today. But now she's just saying she'll go alone. But I know that this will be something she won't forget. So I have to go and go broke and stressed. I have zero interest but keeping her happy. But I feel like her passive aggressive nature in the last 2 days is a bit much. So she's mad I don't go. I'm feeling defeated because she hates me for not going or fight when going. And then he puts in parentheses, I'm sorry, I just know our stresses. I spend a ton of money and work away the summer recouping, but having no time with her in doing so. Love, Anonymous. Dude, this is such a like, you know, like as a woman, you watch other women do things and you're like, girl, I know exactly what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you see the like, not stupidity in it, but you know what I mean? Like you see your girlfriends like doing something or being mad at stuff that you're like, come on.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But then as a woman too, you know that in those moments, like you have zero control of it. Like you're just triggered, you're emotional, it makes you upset and you don't know how to like control your tongue and like what you say in the times. This is one of those where like, I get both sides of what's going on. And yes, I have my opinions about like what I think, whose side I would take. Not that I'll say that, but like, it's one of those things that's just interesting when you hear like, when my brothers come to me about like fights they've been in and I'm just like, ugh, I try to explain it to them. Like, this is just how women are. Or like when she says this, she really means this. And it must be so annoying.
I understand. I understand. It's got to be so annoying, especially I tend to think sometimes I swear I was like supposed to be a guy because sometimes I really feel like I understand them more.
Yes.
In just like the thought process and like in the actions because I tend to be more literal in that sense. But like I have to be clear about this. She cannot go alone.
Oh, no.
That is not an option. So I appreciate that you understand that, and you understand the severity of like you cannot let her do that alone, because that will be the downfall.
Yeah.
Of the relationship. She will hold that against you for so long. So I simply think you should just send her this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Let us do the hard work for you. I'm just kidding. I think you need to have a sit-down conversation with her. And I think her feelings are hurt because it's her birthday. It's not a birthday. It's a big birthday.
Yeah.
And whether like you understand that or not, like to her, it's a really big birthday. So I think you need to sit her down, pour her a glass of wine, pour her a coffee, take her to lunch, whatever. Make her feel like you are looking her in the eye, make her feel seen, make her feel heard, make her feel like she is your whole attention in this moment, and just be like, if you want me to come to New York for your birthday, I would love to. I'm going to be honest, money is tight. I'm going to be honest, I don't love New York. The reason I was going to say you should take your friend or me only come a couple days was because I want you to have the absolute best time that you possibly can have. Like, really articulate that to her. Like, you're wanting her to thrive. You're wanting her to have so much fun. You don't want her to be like annoyed at you. You don't want you to be holding her back from living her best life for her birthday. And I think as long as you're able to explain that to her, that'll help her understand your thought process instead of just like, why don't you take your friend?
Yeah.
She's like, well, you, I said I wanted you to come, like it's my birthday. You don't want to come. But if you explain your thinking to her, and I'm saying this as someone who often doesn't explain my thinking to people. And that's what people have told me.
True.
So
that.
I'm trying to reiterate what I have learned in my like wise 34 years of life. That I struggle at explaining why I said something or explaining why I'm thinking this. Mm-hmm. So if Jackson was to be like, hey, if I was to be like, hey, do you want to go to, I don't know, something he hates, but like, do you want to go to this concert that's a Taylor Swift concert for my birthday? He'd be like, well, why don't you bring Tearin? And I'd be like, because I asked you.
So you hate me?
Yeah.
So you want to break up?
If I wanted Taryne to come, I would have asked Taryne. I asked you because I want you to come.
Why didn't you ask me? I'm just kidding.
And so I think it would have benefited him. Instead of being like, why don't you bring Taryne? He should have been like, if this is a deal breaker, I will go. But I don't love Taylor Swift. Why would you put me in that position? And so like, if you could just do that, I feel like that'll help her out so much. And then you can be like, I would love to come out for a day, take you to dinner, like go see a show, like maybe go to this really cool brewery or whatever, something that you both love. And then you can dip out and the best friend can jump in and do all of the fun city girl things, all the fun Sex in the City spots. Like that's something they can do and you don't have to be a part of it. But you have to articulate that to her. And it doesn't sound like you fully explained that.
Yeah, I am curious how the conversation went because I mean you're just very straight to the point, which I'm wondering if
it would make sense if
like women need that baby. No, I love you. I want to go. I want your bed.
I want to go to be with you. Yeah, I don't want to go.
That's my biggest. Like when you're talking to women, especially when they're in that state of where they're overly emotional, you just have to sandwich everything. Mm-hmm. So by sandwich, I mean, you start with just over the top emotions of how much you love and care for that person. The meat is you say like, I just know myself. And the last thing I would want is for your birthday trip to be ruined by me getting like antsy about like spending money or this or that.
And odds are that will happen.
Yeah. And then you end it with, I'm saying this because I care so much about you. You sandwich everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think having that conversation, really trying to get her to understand that, or asking her like, what's a compromise you're comfortable with? But also I'm a little curious because you said, given the exchange rate, so I'm assuming that you're not from the U.S. Yeah. So I'd be interested to dig deeper and ask her, like, I wonder if it's a safety thing. Like, I wonder if for her, she's like, I don't want to go to a different country, like by myself. Like, why wouldn't I go with my husband? So I'm wondering if there's like more to it than just I want you there. So I would just like ask her about it and just really explain like you will go. It's not a question of like you're saying no. And like obviously you want to spend time with her on her birthday and you want her to have everything, but you're thinking like logically and you're like, I know us, I know myself, and I just like would hate for us to spend all this money and go to this place and then me be complaining about stuff and you're there being like, you ruined my birthday, and then we're in this other country, spent all this money and you're miserable. Like I want this trip to be everything for you. So like why not have like a girls trip? Like that was my thinking. It wasn't that I don't want to spend time with you, I don't love you. It's that I genuinely feel like that would be the best option.
Totally.
And hopefully she's ready to hear it. But I think if you just like really just, you know, take her to her favorite coffee spot, bring her flowers, be like, hey, I feel like this conversation got away from us. And I want to start by just saying, and then start the whole thing and sandwich it. But yeah, like make sure she knows like how much you love her and adore her, and that if anything else was communicated or she took anything else from that was not the intention.
Yeah. If you are overtly intentional about how you communicate that and overtly intentional about like sitting her down, looking her in the eye, putting your phone away, turning the TV off, like all that stuff, it can't go wrong. Like it literally can't go wrong because she's going to see that you're being very serious and you're not trying to hurt her feelings. And I think it's mostly just like turning 40 is big.
Yeah.
And she probably has like all these big dreams and like wishes for it. And you're obviously a part of it because you're her person. So.
And if at the end of the day, she's not letting go, she wants you at her birthday, then you know what? You might just have to throw her one. Go to this thing, buck up, buttercup, put on a good face, be a good sport, and like just do it. And it's at the end of the day, it's 9 days. Yes, that's a long trip, but it's also only 9 days of your life.
Yeah.
So you might just have to sacrifice too. But I do think it's worth having a conversation again to see if you can get out of it. But if at the end of the day, she's like, no, I need you there, I want you there, then I mean, there's worse sacrifices than going on a trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
He's like, no. No, there's not.
Well, at least you have a beautiful wife that you love.
You could be like me and be on the track of single.
You could be still out there trying to find her, but you found her.
Yeah.
You've got her.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into mine. This one is titled, Why Am I So Outspoken?
Sometimes I ask myself that.
No,
sometimes I leave a situation, I'm like, did you have to say that?
Yeah.
Like, why did you feel the need to share that?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to know that.
No one needed to know.
No.
The funniest thing about this is literally no one will get this but Taryne, but my parents are extremely opposite. My mom is the most outspoken, most talkative, most outgoing, will be friends with anyone.
Yep.
We'll walk into the grocery store. She walks out with a friend. My dad is stone cold silent. Like that is just who he is. He's not angry. He's actually really happy and content, just like not speaking. And they couldn't be more different. And I guess the biggest fights they ever got in was because my mom would share their entire relationship story and all the things they're struggling with strangers. And they'd get in the car and my dad would be like, why? No one asked.
Why did you tell him about my bladder infection?
My mom would be like, oh, I was just blah, 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 blah. And he was like, no. And it was just, it's so funny how opposites attract.
Yep.
And how outspokenness can sometimes divulge too much information.
It's unfortunate.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
There are many things I can email you about, but I had a short one to ask you this time and thought it could be a good conversation. I am 28 years old and an Enneagram 8 wing 9 and have recently gotten into problems with work due to me being a little outspoken. So for background, we're talking Enneagram here. You guys know we love the Enneagram. Enneagram 8 is the challenger, and they are the people that, like, the description and it says like they're ready at all times for a throwdown. Like they're prepared, meaning like if someone triggers them or like says something the wrong way, they are ready to fight and they have everything they need prepared in their back pocket, ready to go. So a lot of people view them as really aggressive. They tend to get in a lot of like big fights because they're not scared of being in big fights.
Yeah.
Which is great when you're in a fight and they're on your team. It's very scary when you're the person being fought with.
Yeah.
So that's a little 9 background. 8 background.
I got you.
She continues, for as long as I can remember, I have been more on the stronger side and speaking up for the little guy. This past week, I was in a meeting with 4 men all over the age of 45 and 1 woman who was married to one of the men in attendance. One, in parentheses, she adds, a man in his 70s who's pretty ... old-fashioned, in parentheses.
This is the husband of the woman?
Just one of the men.
Oh, okay.
The 70-year-old man, who is pretty old-fashioned, brought up a discussion topic that was a little personal to me, and as much as I somewhat agreed with him, I was angered by his derogatory tone and how he used that time to offer his unasked opinion of this matter. So I opened my mouth and kind of played the devil's advocate. This caused the team and I to have a discussion about this matter for an extended period of time. Since I was leading the meeting and we had multiple other topics that needed to be discussed, I ended the discussion and we moved on. But unfortunately, for the rest of the meeting, there was a lot of tension. Afterwards, I spoke with the other female in attendance and she said that there was tension and you could tell I was very irritated and did not react in a super healthy way. She then proceeded to say that it is almost like the men were fearful of me and didn't feel like they could speak up because of how I was speaking and that I was being intentional and intimidating them. As much as...
Interesting that the...
female said this.
Yeah.
So it's like... it either was that overt and she really was that triggered, or she's just siding with her husband. She could be like siding with her husband and trying to like stick up for him a little bit.
Yeah. Interesting.
As much as some of this is true, what I took away from this was that I am too outspoken. This is not the first time disagreements have happened, but it always comes down to I am too outspoken, or I speak my mind too often, or they just expect me to just keep my head down and do my job. At my core, I am a challenger and I don't trust people. So keeping my head down is very hard for me. What is your advice for working with men, and advice for when I'm supposed to hold my tongue, and advice for not being too much of a people pleaser? Help. And then there is an updated email.
Oh.
Very short. It says, update.
I got fired.
I was removed from the team.
Oh, I was joking. I'm sorry.
I guess I was too outspoken. Any thoughts on handling it better? Anonymous.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. This happened in the past. You did not do that.
Okay.
This is fascinating for me. So I feel like you asked the perfect people for this, genuinely, because Taryne is really great at confrontation and she's really great at dealing with 8s. And I think in another life was an 8 possibly, or like has that in you.
Yeah.
It's weird how Taryne's able to see both sides, but she can really slip into like an 8 personality. I'm not saying you are an 8 because she's definitely not, but I do think 2s being more like motherly tend to be very mother bear-y. And I think, like you said, sticking up for the little guy.
Yeah.
Taryne can ease, if someone were to pick on your brother, say something outwardly towards your brother, towards me,
a savage.
Towards someone in her circle, you'd think she was an 8, you know?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this before because the Enneagram, so how it works is like you shoot across the like circle, right? When you're unhealthy.
Yeah.
So as a 2, my unhealthy is 8. So for a while, I thought that really meant that I was like just unhealthy all the time because I can enter that so easy. But right below 2, I scored a 7. And if I was a 7, I would definitely be a wing 8, like over 9.
Right.
So I think that I have a very good relationship with my 8. And and it's not, I've come to see it as not, because I used to see it as a negative thing, but now I see it as like, no, it's a positive thing if handled in the right way.
No, totally.
Because that's a thing. And that's what I will get into. But it's not wrong to stand up for what you think is right and to speak your mind. But I do think there's some strategy and some differences in how you do that.
And that's why I'm here.
Yep.
That's what I bring to the table. I'm a 9. I'm a peacemaker. I hate confrontation. I tend to ignore it 90% of the time. I have gotten better at it because of Taryne. Genuinely, I think she has whole-handedly helped me get better at this. So we can dive into this a little bit more. And I think I'll go first, and I'll just go like from a 9 perspective, and then you can go first. Yeah. You can go after. I think outspokenness is beautiful. I think speaking your mind is beautiful. I don't think this has anything to do with gender, but I could see how it might have felt like that in that room because of how many men there were, and it sounds like you were in charge.
Well, and a lifetime of as a woman, when you school, quote unquote, school a man, or you what's it called? Oppose a man strongly. Most men, and I'm not trying to generalize, but from my personal experience and from what I've observed or heard of people, most men do not take that well if it comes from a woman. Right. Another man can say it to you and they'll just kind of go back and forth and then be like, oh, what are we getting for lunch? But when a woman opposes a man, most times it's not met well, and it's seen as offensive, or they get kind of macho and feel like they have to like put you in your place.
And all of a sudden the woman's emotional. And then that just starts a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into that right now. We're just going to talk about this one thing that I feel like should have been done differently. I don't think that conversation should have happened there. And I think that would have changed literally everything. If he brought it up, one, he shouldn't have, because it sounds like it was a personal thing. As the leader, and where I think the 8 maybe got a little bit too hot-headed too quick and maybe took control of the situation, should have been like, now's not a good time to talk about that. We can talk about that later. Because you had work to do. Like, and here's something that I struggle with as a 9. I have actually a really big anger problem. And it pops out all the time when no one's around because I am so out of touch with my anger. So I literally cannot let myself get worked up or I will snap. Like it's literally like the last time this happened, it was like last week. I screamed in my car for probably 5 minutes.
Really?
I had to get it out.
Was it because of me?
No.
Oh, thank God.
But I had to get it out. And if I let myself have a conversation too soon before I was able to get that out, that would have come out in the conversation. Yeah. And I'm not saying I would have screamed at someone. I would have cried. Yeah. And I hate that about myself. If I feel anything too intensely, I cry. And it couldn't even be that I'm sad. I just have too much emotion built up. Yeah. And I haven't dealt with it yet. So if Tearin says something that triggers me, I need to talk about that later. I have to stop that conversation quick because now's not the time to talk about it because I'm going to start crying and then it's done, and then it's over and then we have to talk about it and then whatever we have to do has to get put on pause. And that's why you can't talk about personal stuff at work. And that's very inappropriate of him to have brought that up there in front of a ton of people. But it sounds like you were in charge. So what I would have done and what I would say needed to be done differently is it's okay to speak your mind. It shouldn't have been done there. It shouldn't have been done before a meeting where you had other things to deal with. And it sounded like you had the ability to put it on pause and talk about it later. And that's what I would have done. And then you could have been like, sir, I understand you have thoughts. It's okay for you to voice those to me. It's not appropriate to bring that up at work when we have other pressing matters like this, Yeah. So I'm not shocked if the other woman said you looked triggered because you probably let that get to you. Yeah. As anyone would have, instead of being like, pause. We will be dealing with this conversation and you will hear my thoughts on this, but we have X, Y, and Z to get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I think there's what I've learned in working in, different jobs have different allowances of different behaviors, right?
Totally.
But when you work in I'm in administration, so I I have to be very professional, and I work with a lot of different adults, a lot of different people. And I feel like what I've learned, and people might agree or disagree with this, I think there's a time and place for everything. I also have learned the older I get, I think pick your battles is such a brilliant phrase. And I think it's something that people should do more often. I think for me, you're just in your description of this man, he's probably not someone I would ever debate with.
Yeah.
If he's this 70-year-old man who's set in his ways,
doesn't get it.
Like, it's just, I think there's like, for an 8, you stand up for things, but I think that there are some conversations that have no actual purpose, and if
it's not going to go anywhere.
No, you're not going to change this man's mind. It's like I don't know if I talked about this on here or not, but the other day I was backing up my car and I saw in my rear view mirror 2 people were like crossing behind my car, so I like slammed on my brakes and I waited. So they crossed behind my car and then they started going and I had my window down. And the man, it was like this old man, right? And he's like, oh, it's a female driver. Everybody watch out, female driver. Like, that's stupid, whatever. Ew. And I had this moment where I looked at him and I'm like, okay, he's this old man. He's set in his ways because that is the society he grew up in and that's what he thinks is funny and okay. What am I really going to do if I make a comment?
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably get this dirty look. He'll yell something back. It'll rise me up to get tense. Like, am I actually going to change this person's viewpoint on things like this if I like say something?
Yeah.
No.
Also, so it's not necessarily your job.
No.
I could see if you chose to make that your job, sure. But like, you don't have to.
It's just, for me, what is it actually going to do? What's the purpose of it?
Get you all stressed, all emotional, what did all frustrated.
I do? Yeah, glad you made it out alive. And then I just backed up and left. Because I'm like, what? There's no purpose. Like, I know you. I know, like, it's just, for me, what's the big deal? Yeah. Like, I take this as a stupid joke that you made and you think is funny, and I move on with my life, and I drove away and didn't think about him the rest of the day, you know? But it's like, I think that there are people that it's worth having a productive conversation. And there's people where even when you don't agree, if you're in a professional atmosphere, you politely smile and you move on. You don't have to egg on the conversation. If it is something that truly makes you feel uncomfortable, you can say, you know what? I don't feel like this is a good time and place for this conversation, but would love to like address later, like you had said. But I feel like as an 8, what I've noticed from my friends who are 8 and when I can really enter into this mode, you think you're saying something super casual and straight to the point, but girl, your face is saying, I want to kill you and everyone you know. Like, you don't hide it well. 8s do not hide it well. Their stank face is so palpable. Like you know that they hate you and everything you just said just by looking at them. And so I think that as an 8, you have to be hyper aware of how you're coming across. And if you feel like in the moment you're too heated, then don't have the conversation then, which is
especially at work.
Yeah.
Especially at work.
There are so many times at work that people will say comments or make statements that I'm like, oof, like that didn't really sit well, or I don't really agree with that. But that's not in that role in my profession. That's not what I'm there for. And that doesn't feed into how I'm doing my job or how I view those people. Like I still love them. Like you can love people who have different views or you think are wrong in certain things. Are there lines where you need to stick up for things? Absolutely. But I think there's a time and place for it. And I think sometimes work needs to be work and it needs to be professional.
Yeah.
And then you move on. You know what I mean? But I think you are taking this very much as a character blow and something's wrong with me. No, it's not. I think it's beautiful that you have the ability to do that. But I do think you need to work on your strategy. And we talk about this all the time. There are times where me and Ash, we've gotten into a little something. And if I'm just thinking about myself and I want to spew out exactly how I feel and like blah, blah, blah. If I'm a smart person, I can look and know, I know the outcome of that. Ash is going to shut down. She's going to freak out. She's not going to actually hear what I'm saying. And it could potentially damage our friendship.
You'll never hear from me again.
Exactly.
Just kidding.
So what's my priority in that moment?
Yeah.
My priority is I want to have a productive conversation with someone that I genuinely love and I care about.
Mm-hmm.
So let me take out some of the things I wish I could say and just communicate the point in a delicate way.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me not being true to myself. That's me being smart and being a good friend.
Yeah.
Same thing in work. It's not you diminishing who you are or not sticking up for what you think is right. It's being like, you know what? This is work. I'm going to be professional in this regard. If I feel like a line is crossed, that's where HR comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a private meeting comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still be professional and I can just smile and say, okay, let's go ahead and get back on topic and move on and then address it later. So it's more, I think you have to hone your strategy and your poker face a little bit.
Yes, 100%. Like when you say there's a 75-year-old old-fashioned man that's speaking to you and is bringing up something personal at a work meeting, all I envision is like some older man thinking he's like some kind of father figure to you because he's older and you're a girl. Doesn't make sense, but unfortunately that's the situation we're in a lot of times. And it's not fair that he did that. It's not fair that he put you in this position. It's not fair that he set you up to fail in that way. But I agree with Taryne. I think there's nothing that you can do to change who he is. So you can't let yourself get riled up over that. And it's you almost got to look at it like big picture wise, like, okay, if I want to do well in this position that I'm in and this guy's bringing this to the table, the best thing I can do is correct him. But I can't do that yet. So I'm going to correct him in a less intense way. And I'm just going to say that's inappropriate. And we can talk about that not during work hours.
Yeah.
Like, I actually, like, okay, Bob, like, I hear you. I really don't think now's a good time to be talking about personal things, Bob.
Yeah.
So why don't we table that and get back to, like, the important things that we're here to discuss?
Yep.
And that, it's so weird how simple phrases like that literally just, like, it corrects someone and makes them sit down and be like, yes, ma'am. Like, because there's no fighting that. There's no fighting that what he brought up was personal and now's not the time to discuss it, you know? And he would just be like, oh, well, I didn't think it was that personal. I didn't know you were going to take it. Okay, well, I did. So let's talk about that later and move on to X, Y, and Z, you know? No one can fight with simplicity like that. No one can fight with now's not the time. We can talk about it later. If that's how you view it, that's how you view it.
And what you said is you actually kind of agree with what he said, but you went in to play the devil's advocate. And so at that point, I think it is a little too, like,
that's winding yourself up.
Not everybody likes confrontation and discussions like that. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes, especially after these years of having the political climate the way it was and like how everyone's like choosing sides and passionately and like aggressively arguing, like there's a lot of people who that ignites anxiety and they just want to like run away from it. So, and you have to think about too, you have a whole team that's there too. So yeah, you and him are arguing, but everybody else is uncomfortable, could be, or not willing to speak up.
I'm moonwalking out of the room. Yeah. I'm so uncomfortable. I have checked out. I am like so quiet. I'm closing my laptop quiet. I'm sticking it in my bag and I'm halfway out the door because I can't handle it.
I have a doctor's appointment.
I can't handle it. And just because you can doesn't mean everyone else can.
Yeah. So it's strategy. It's being smart. It's using your gifts in a way that's appreciated and learning how to like step back and kind of assess the situation and like if it's worth talking about or not. And there's so many times I've just politely, you know, not even nodded because you don't have to agree or be like, yeah, totally, I agree with you. But you can just be like, okay, like let's move on to the next topic. And then if it still is something that's eating at you, have that conversation later. But there's a strategy that comes with it and it takes a lot of control as an 8. But I think when you hone in on it, you'll really appreciate and see how much more you walk away from situations where you're like, wow, that was a great conversation, or dang, I'm really glad I didn't give him any of my time, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think having, figuring out what you're good at, like figuring out that you're good at confrontation, figuring out that you're good at communicating is like a superpower. And when you finally hone in on how to perfectly execute what you're trying to do, then that, you won't be as emotional about it. So you can say, Bob, now's not the time, or you could have said something short and sweet and to the point, but you wouldn't have let it affect you as much.
Yeah.
And it's sitting in that like obviousness of like, she's so pissed right now.
Yeah.
That is what throws people off. And
also, you could have read the tension. So like, say you did go in and have a couple exchanges, and when you felt the tension starting to rise, that's where you just say super quick, hey guys, I feel like this is getting away from us. It's getting a little tense, a little heated. So let's go ahead and put a pin in this. Like, Bob, I'd love to like chat with you more about this later, but like, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. So I think there's two, like maybe if you initially say something and then you can kind of sense this is getting away instead of as an 8 where you're like, well, then I need to keep saying my point till they understand
Pound
me.
it through.
Finding like, okay, this has gone a couple exchanges. The tension is rising.
Yeah.
So let's just like
Read the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mental note, Bob, stay after. We can keep talking. Like,
yeah. And then you move on.
It was simply bad timing, and I'm very sorry that it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that it's still like that for a lot of women. People just thinking they can
say whatever.
Say stuff like that. Not even women. Like the workplace just isn't something where you talk about personal stuff in front of other people.
But it happens.
You know, if he's your boss, then it's like, okay, well, there should have been a scheduled meeting for that. You know, it shouldn't be. There's so many rules that were broken in that, and that really is unfair to you. But I don't know. Hopefully, this was helpful.
Yeah, I think honestly, every closed door, open window, whatever that phrase is. So I think this will lead you hopefully to a job you have a better fit for or is better for you. I totally believe that sometimes these like terrible things can lead us somewhere wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think it is a good time for self-reflection and how do I really hone in my natural gifts? Like don't shy away from that. Like who you are.
No. Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be that way. And that's like a talent of yours. But all of us with our talent, even me, like my talent is like how I like love people. And even that sometimes can be like not good. So like even I've had to like
everything can be too much at some level.
So I think it's just, I think that's part of like when you get older is like realizing like, oh, okay, like how can I like shift this or what's worth it or what's not, like, and being more strategic in the way you interact with people. And I don't think anything's wrong with that.
No, I don't think anything's wrong with that either. I saw a TikTok yesterday and it was really good. It was like, life's all about mentality shifts.
Yeah.
And it was like, it showed a slide and it was like, I can't believe this happened to me. And it was a mentality shift of, I'm so glad I got to learn something from that. I'm so glad I got to grow from that.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, poor me, I effed that up, or I messed up, or I got kicked off the team, like poor me. Instead of thinking that way, being like, okay, I learned something great from this.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen again because I've noted it.
For sure.
Like I put it in my notes and that won't happen again. So I think moving forward with that mentality shift of it's not that I messed up, but I learned something, I think is going to propel you forward from that. Because that stuff I tend to do, and I get very worked up about I messed up, or I did this, or I said this wrong, and I'll replay it over and over again. Don't bother yourself with that. You learned. Hopefully he learned. And we're just going to move forward.
Probably not.
Fucking Bob.
He's still in his 70s somewhere. Being a jerk. I'm just kidding. All right, y'all. I'm going to end us with a dad joke.
Do it.
Why don't football players wear glasses?
I have no clue. I got nothing.
Because it's a contact sport.
Ah, shoot. I was thinking like,
that's good.
Never mind. I was thinking sight. Guys, if you made it to the dad joke, you already know the drill. We love you the mostest. Be sure to check us out on socials. Be sure to follow us on Supercast. We have bonus content for you there. Scary stories, AMAs, solo episodes, shorties, all the things. And if you have a story that you want read on this podcast, there's one thing you got to do. You got to email us at, what's the email, Taryne?
adviceunsolicitedpod@gmail.com.
And we'll talk to you later.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.